It's me, Cappy. My mommy is the best. Superman will be next. She helps mommy. It looks my looks black. Your dick looks black. And this part go black. You wait for the straw. Brush. Get ready for Pet Super's ugly. Pet Super's glad.
Welcome back to Healing for the Soul podcast, sponsored by Robin Stoltman, with this being season number 6, episode number 12. If you are ever looking for a virtual assistant who can edit your social media content, grow your social medias, book clients, and much more that all businesses require, I highly recommend Sphere Rocket for all your virtual assistant needs. The link to Sphere Rocket is at the bottom of this episode. And before we get started, I'm your host, Robin Stoltman, and every week I feature different guests to help you become the best version of yourself through different methods you may not have heard of or thought of. And make sure to subscribe and keep coming back for more. And today I have a very special guest. His name is Dr. Carl Rothschild, a pioneer advocate of red light therapy on the show. And today he is talking about the red light therapy. So let's get started. Thank you so much, Dr. Carl, for being here with our audience.
My pleasure. I love talking about this stuff. It was 1972, if you can believe that. And I was in college trying to decide what I wanted to do. I was always slated to be a medical, I was pre-med and all that stuff. But I was a bit rebellious, and I got introduced to chiropractic and started calling all over the country. Now, back then in 72, to make a long distance call was a big deal. But I would call chiropractors all over. I just wanted to know what the profession was like and try to get it from the actual people out there. And I never found a chiropractor that wasn't thrilled to be a chiropractor. And that's what I wanted. Imagine waking up in the morning and looking forward to going to work, and at the same time being of assistance. That was my goal, to help as many people as I could. Money was not my main focus. And that drove people around me crazy. I said, I'm not going to be dwelling on the money aspect. It's going to come. When you do the right thing, I believe money's going to come. So I don't want to preach here, but at any rate, so there I am, 72, and then eventually I graduate from Stony Brook University out in Long Island, which is a very good school, and I ended up going to chiropractic school, and I became a chiropractor in 1978. And again, my goal was to help as many people as I could, and I did a really good job with that. But about 20 years into my practice, I was introduced by, of all people, a medical doctor. Now, I say this, an orthopedic surgeon, a professor out of USC, and I knew him prior to him learning about red light therapy, but he was the true pioneer. He was the one that brought the device to the United States. He's the one that pushed it to his colleagues who didn't want to hear about it. And I'll tell you why. They want to do the surgery. They want to do the drugs. And with red light therapy, it's a revenue killer. People won't need the surgery as much. They won't need the drugs as much. And so that's why when someone says, well, why isn't it in every hospital if it's so great? Why isn't it this? Because they want to make money. In this country, it's about how much money you can make, to be honest with you. Yeah, they're a little bit into healing, but chiropractors, as a rule, we're really into helping people and to help them get better, long-lasting, natural. We don't want to put anything in the body that doesn't belong there or yank anything out that does belong there. We want to try to do this as best we can. So there I am, 27 years ago, introduced to red light therapy when very few people knew about it. And it revolutionized my practice. It made such a huge difference, I cannot begin to tell you. So this guy comes in and says he had kidney problems. Now, I'm not a kidney expert, although I know a lot more about kidneys than most. I was actually a hemodialysis nurse assistant, believe it or not. So before I decided to become a chiropractor. And so I knew about kidneys, and he said he had kidney problems, and we helped him. I didn't know if it was going to, the only thing we knew about red light therapy back then, and even to today, one thing we know for sure, you couldn't hurt somebody. So in the 50 years that they've studied red light therapy, there's never been a recorded side effect. You couldn't hurt somebody if you tried. Not only that, I'm going to talk to you about contraindications later. Who should or not should. In fact, you're in charge of reminding me to bring up that.
I definitely will.
So at any rate, there I am, loving it. We're helping people. I mean, this lady has gum disease, helped her with a gum disease. This guy had a ripped Achilles tendon. Now, he needed surgery. No question about it. We sent him to the orthopedist for the surgery. They couldn't take him until the end of the week. So I said, you know what? You come in every day. Let's treat you with this light. Again, we didn't know that much about it. And when he went for the surgical review, he didn't need the surgery. So every time I'm learning more and more about the miracles that this thing can do. Now, that's with a device. It was the first one that was cleared by the FDA in the United States, that many 27 something years ago. And it was, imagine, thousands of times weaker than what we're currently using. And even so, we had pretty decent results. Then the next thing that happens, about 14 years ago, give or take, they learned that there's an element of light that I was not using, an element of light that actually can help with fat reduction. Now, I was not using that light, that element of light, because from the healing aspect, the light that's most healing, the energy that's most healing is near infrared, not red, not far infrared, near infrared. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But this other company, by accident, they only did red light. And by accident, they've discovered that there was an element of their light that could actually help with fat loss. And then the research has been extensive. They've done a lot more research over the years to say, and I'm going to go over the mechanism in just a little while, how it works, why it works, and stuff like that. But imagine, if you know anything about fat loss in this country, it's huge. People are willing to do anything to lose fat. And some of those things are poisonous. They stick themselves with needles. They consume things that are poisonous to them. They'll do whatever it takes. Well, imagine if I can introduce something that is absolutely natural, it's non-invasive, has no negative side effects, and the results are pretty good. So then I got even more heavily involved, and I started manufacturing. And we were involved with lasers and pads and covering parts of the body for different things, for fat loss, for healing, things like that. And then the next thing was COVID. That was a real kick in the butt for all of us. But our practitioners wanted less physical contact between the patient and the provider if we could provide something to them. And we created, you see the picture of the bed. This is like 7 generations later from compared to our first bed that we created. But even so, that first bed that we created was pretty good. And we created it only because you can get in and out of bed yourself. You don't need any staff to do it. So when someone says, how much does it cost? I said, well, if you're using it for a business, you don't need to hire staff to do it. So you're saving yourself thousands of dollars right off the bat. So we created that first bed, shipped it out, thinking it would be a nice substitute for what we had generated up to that point. And we were in for a real shock because the kind of feedback that we were getting back was mind-boggling. So one thing I want to give you for an example, and I have dozens of these, but one in particular, this guy's name is Arnett. And I use him as an example when I do live when I'm actually at a convention and doing lecturing in front of an audience or on Zoom or virtual, whatever. I say, listen, I want all of you to pretend, if you're not, to be a health practitioner. If you're a health practitioner, that's fine. If you're not, pretend you are. And I'm going to ask you a question. What would you do if someone called you up and said, I'm having a heart attack once, if not twice a week, and this has been going on for 12 years. What can you do for me? What would anybody say? And I want to tell you, nothing. Nobody has an answer for that. Nothing. The guy was left out to die. So 12, 13 years ago, they implanted a defibrillator in his chest. So every time he died, it would zap him back to life. But he was dying. His organs, his glands were failing. His energy was gone. His clarity was gone. He was highly depressed because he used to be an athlete, and now he can't walk 10 steps without losing his breath. So he was a mess. And so the practitioner calls me up and says, I got this guy coming in tomorrow. He's having a heart attack regularly. What do? I don't want him having a heart attack in my office. I said, let's just treat him for 5 minutes and stay in the room the whole time. And that patient goes home that night after that first treatment. And that was nearly 2 years ago and hasn't had a heart attack since. Now he's had more treatment, no more heart attacks. He's had more treatment and everything has come back to life. Everything. His
That's
energy,
that's what I was just going to ask about, his organs.
blood pressure, pulse is normal. His erectile dysfunction, gone. Everything has improved. And do you think he's happy?
Oh, yeah.
He's ecstatic. Why do you think 1970s, I decided as a hippie, my version of a hippie, to become a chiropractor? This is what I was looking for. Now, as a chiropractor, I did well. I did good.
Yeah.
But now with the bed, the kind of results are startling, things that we never dreamt of before. And what I was always looking for is when a patient is kind of mid-range or done with me, that they look me in the eye and they say, thank you for giving me my life back. And now we're hearing it a lot. And for those of you that want to do this in a business, remember, it's not satisfied patients that refer. It's excited patients. And you're never going to see more excited patients than this person's losing their eyesight and now they're not. This person couldn't walk and now they can. This person was in constant pain, blah, blah, blah. This lady, her name is Jessica, and I'm going to be sending you the videos. So you're more than welcome to share it with your audience. All these testimonies, these are just interviews that I've done or had been done by other people that have used our bed, with the before and the after stories. And the before stories could be, for example, Jessica, she had uveitis. Now, uveitis is a precursor pretty much to glaucoma. Her pressure in one eye was 180, and it's supposed to be closer to 10. 180 means that if she didn't have that handle, she was going to go blind in that eye. So she was taking drops, which cost about $400 a month copay, and she was getting injections in her eye once a month, and that cost about $5,000 each injection. And when I asked her, when you watch the video, you just look at her name is Jessica, watch the video about what she went through, because I said, what's that like getting an injection? I mean, it sounds like a stupid question, but I wanted to get it in record. What's it like to get an injection in your eye? And so she describes it, and basically she says, oh, it's horrible and all that stuff. But she also had 3 forms of psoriasis: guttate psoriasis, plaque psoriasis, psoriatic arthritis. She had dactylitis, which is a form of, they call it sausage toes, where her toes, in the morning, sometimes she'd wake up and they were swollen and black and blue. She had she had thyroid problems, heart problems, just it goes on. She had Lyme disease, she had shingles. It was like never ending, all these different things. They're all gone.
From that bed? From using that?
From the bed.
That is amazing.
So do you see why I'm a little wacky? Why I am so excited about this? And I know you're going to think this is crazy. It sounds like snake oil. How could it affect every cell, every tissue in your body? And it does. It does.
And the last part, I was wondering, how does that affect? Like all the cells? Because everything.
You want to know how it works?
Yeah, I do. Yes.
You have to wait.
Okay, I'll wait.
It out, because I got a few other things to tell you before, and then I'm going to tell you exactly how there are 2 separate mechanisms. One's about fat loss, and one's about everything else: the healing, the hair restoration, the skin, the everything. That's a separate mechanism. I did want to talk to you about Steve. Now, Steve had Lyme disease, and he contracted it when he was 12, and it ruined his childhood. It ruined his social life. It ruined his education. And of course, he had no career, because his energy, he never knew from day to day whether he had enough energy just to go from his apartment to the car, and from the car back to, to his office and whatever. So he couldn't really be what you'd say an outstanding employee. And then I'm not going to tell you too much about this, but he gets in our bed, gets out of the bed, and doesn't notice any difference. And that's not unusual. One visit's not going to be the end all and be all, although some people will notice in just 1 visit. But I tell everybody it's about 6 visits. Every one of you, if you have an issue and you're not using the bed 6 times, then stop complaining. Because if you use it 6 times, then we'll know. And remember, the worst that'll happen is nothing. And that rarely happens. 6 visits. Each visit is 12 minutes a session. That's 3 times a week for 2 weeks, 6 visits. So I'm not going to tell you what happened with Steve, other than to tell you he gets out of the bed and he notices no difference. And I want you to watch the video, because this video of him in particular is me getting, goosebumps, because what did I go into practice for? To help as many people as possible. And do you know how thrilling it is when you watch his video and hear how his life went from crap to amazing? Watch that video. I loved it. So at any rate, you got to try it for six. Listen, the way I liken well-being is like burning a burning candle that burns bright from the beginning all the way to the bottom and then sputters out and dies. That's how we should go. And that's not how most people go. Too many people, the last 20 years of their life, they're invalids. They can't function. They can't, I used to teach a class where you'll be dancing when you're 75. And I realized it's not many people that are doing it. Now I'm 72. I'm so open, damn, I can dance now. I'm not a great dancer, but I'm active. I'm running. I'm doing whatever I need to do to be as active. It's not just about lights, obviously. It's also about eating smart. And it's also about exercising just three times a week. I just need 3 times. But this is how I talk to my patients. I just need 3 times a week, 30 minutes a shot. That's an hour and a half of your whole week. Get your cardiovascular going. Now, if you have more time, I don't mind you doing the other stuff, but the cardiovascular aspect is, in my opinion, the most important. You're keeping your heart as healthy as you possibly can. And that's, of course, smart eating. And we'll talk about that another time. But there's not very many people know about fat loss as much as I do. My mother became an executive of Weight Watchers when I was around 11. And that might sound great to you, but it sucked, because from that point on, we never had a good thing to eat. So bean sprouts was instead of spaghetti, and rice crackers instead of anything else. So it sucked. But I really learned about weight loss. I learned about the struggles of people who are obsessed with food. And if you can give somebody a really nice way that's all healthy, that has no side effects potentially at all, a way to have a smart diet, not a overly restrictive diet. And even the word diet is a dangerous thing, because the word diet implies beginning and an end. So at the end of the diet, guess what happens? You put on all the weight again. So it's really about a change of lifestyle. It's a way about introducing and integrating smart eating, not restrictive eating. I don't want a person going, because anyone's going to lose weight. If you stop eating, you might even die, but you'll certainly lose weight. But that's not what this is about. It's about eating calorically neutral. It's a calorically neutral diet. That means the amount of calories you need in a day, but staying away from the starchy, carbohydrates, simple sugars, sodas, and alcohol. So I want to point out, first of all, my book. I don't make a dime off of this, but if you want to know about red light therapy, get the book. It's called Illuminated Healing, and it's on Amazon. You can get it as a Kindle, meaning you can read it on the computer. You can get it as Audible. You can listen to me for 8 hours, or you can get it as the book itself. The other thing I want to point out is the website. That's trifectalight.com, and it is an excellent website. Let's put it that way. There's a lot of great information on there, but what's important is the Contact Us page. On the left side of the Contact Us page is a section there where you can find the location closest to you. We can't list every location for privacy reasons, but we can find the location that's closest to you. And remember, just need 6 visits. And if you're crying and complaining about any aches or pain or lack of energy, or you can't sleep or blah, 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 I don't care what you have, at least try 6 visits. So find out when you go to the website, trifectalight.com. I'm not in practice, so you're not invited to my office because I don't have one. Trifectalight.com, go to the Contact Us page, left side, find the location closest to you. On the right side is for those of you that are smart enough, in my opinion, to buy a bed. And I'll tell you why you might want to buy a bed. One, from a business aspect, you'll never see anything that will attract more people than anything I've ever seen before. It's non-invasive. It's very simple. They get in the bed and they get out of the bed. That's it. As a chiropractor, I might take 5 years to learn a technique, or years or months, or whatever. It could take a long time to learn a technique. And then with the bed, they just get in it, they get out of it. To learn how to do that, what does it take? 10 seconds to say, get into bed, get out of bed. Oh, by the way, before you do that, press the on button. That's it. Now there are settings, and we can improve, results based on your condition, based on your size, We can make those settings, but they take seconds to actually modify and change. So at any rate, so buying a bed makes a lot of sense, but at least you can go to that on the right side of the contact us page and learn if it makes sense for you to buy a bed for your business. Now, if you don't know anything about the body and you're not going to hire somebody that knows something about it, you're probably not a great candidate. We had one person, he was an accountant, not a good candidate for this. This is for somebody, remember, it's as safe as can be. You couldn't hurt anybody with this if you try. Safe, safe, safe. So that's why you don't need a health practitioner's license to do this, but you need to have the knowledge of the body. So a massage therapist, esthetician, you name it, anybody that knows it, fitness centers, weight loss centers, med spas, day spas, all that, they're all perfect candidates to have red light therapy in it. So there's another reason to get this bed, and that's for home use. This is not a toy. It's not free. It costs about as much as a car. But people don't realize how expensive it is to be sick. They don't get it if they're not sick yet. And it's unbelievably expensive to be sick. So why don't you avoid the possibility? This is what I'm going for. I want that candle burning bright and all the way through for me, myself. I don't want to, be an invalid. I don't want any of those things. So I get into bed 3 times a week. I have no ailments from a preventive point of view. But if I had ailments, you better believe I'd be getting into bed, if not 3 times a week, maybe every day. And it makes a huge difference. And so when someone gets in the bed, they keep their eyes closed and their mouth open. Now, someone might say, well, shouldn't I wear goggles? And I said, no, you don't need to wear goggles. These lights could not hurt you, not one part of your body. But in particular, it wouldn't hurt your eyes, but it's annoying, right? I mean, you got a very bright light, so just keep your eyes closed. You can get a headache from looking at a flashlight like this, right? Imagine this is a flashlight and I'm staring at it. That's annoying. So just keep your eyes closed. And that light can get through your eyelid very easily. It can get through your skull and get to the brain. So it can get through the eyelid and get to the eye. And so why would you want to get it in the eye? Well, how about anything you can think of in the eye, like floaters, like glaucoma, like we already talked about uveitis, like macular degeneration, macular edema, cataracts, all those things, anything in the eye. You're not going to have that result if you're wearing goggles. Now, the bed comes with goggles, but I'm trying to tell people, just keep your eyes closed. Couldn't hurt your eyes, and most likely it will help. We had a guy that his one floater he had in his eye was so big that it was blocking his vision. Mostly floaters are like gnats that are flying around, and it's annoying, but it's not going to block your vision. His was blocking his vision. And within 2 weeks, almost everybody I've spoken to that have had issues with floaters, they're gone within 2 weeks.
What about like stigmatism?
Well, okay. Now, remember, this is all about a disease process. So let's talk about a freckle on your arm.
Okay.
A freckle on your arm is not a disease. It's not, the body's not going to recognize it as it needs to be repaired. So it's not going to do anything for a freckle. And astigmatism is like a freckle. You're born with that. It's not like you have a disease process. Same thing with eyesight. So vision in general is just the shape of your eye. So it will improve the vision, but not because of the shape of the eye. The way that it improves vision is as we get older, the muscles that control the lens to focus in and out starts aging. And that focus gets rotten and you start needing glasses and that kind of stuff. Well, we'll find that with the light that we'll actually get an improvement on that. So the focus is much easier. So don't be surprised that you'll need your glasses prescription maybe have to be changed to a weaker prescription. Or maybe you won't need reading glasses. At any rate, so hold off on your questions just for a second.
Sorry, I got excited.
You're excited. You imagine what I'm going through here. So what we learned is, remember, I was dealing with manufacturing equipment. What we have subsequently learned is that when you bathe the whole body at the same time, that's what this is about. Not doing their arms. I don't mind a mask or a helmet that people buying. That's fine. And that's fun. Right. It's a toy, but I'm talking about serious stuff here. I'm talking about dementia, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, multiple sclerosis, any autoimmune disease, rheumatoid arthritis, for example. We talked about Lyme disease and shingles and all that. These are universal problems that are global for the whole body, not just, my left elbow, although it'll help that as well. But we're talking about the miraculous results that we're seeing here that are just incredible. So bathing the whole body is a critical matter. So getting back to the website, just to finish up, left side to get a patient, get you to a location nearest you, right side, perhaps buy a bed. On the bottom of that is just asking questions. So you can just, if you have a question for me or anybody in my team, and I have a very handsome, good sized team, just send us a question and we'll help you with that. Now, the other thing that I want to point out is the YouTube channel. If you put in @YouTube official, I'm sorry, wait, go to YouTube, put @Trifecta Light Official, put it in the search line in YouTube, and you'll find beautiful videos that we have had created for our company. There's over 120 of them, and they're excellent. They're really great. So if you want to learn more about the Trifecta Light, and in particular about red light therapy in general, that's a great thing. So we talked about the website, we talked about the YouTube channel, we talked about my book. And then I want to talk to you one more thing, and then I'm going to go over the mechanisms. And that is the Google Scholar. Other people are going to go, well, maybe it doesn't, maybe could it harm you? Does it work for this or that? If you haven't heard of Google Scholar, I want you to become an expert on Google Scholar. So you go to scholar.google.com, and I'm going to be sending you these show notes, so you'll have all that information, including all the videos that I talked about with all these people having amazing results. But you go to Google Scholar and you put in the phrase red light therapy and press enter, and don't be surprised when you see over 3.5 million entries of all kinds of double-blind studies, research papers, articles. Some of them are more about, not necessarily directly involved, but there's there are thousands and thousands of great research papers and all kinds of stuff in regards to red light therapy. So you could put in red light therapy, lupus, red light therapy, whatever, after that, carpal tunnel, I don't care what you put in there. You'll see all the articles, the double-blind studies, research papers, and stuff like that. And so then you don't have to just believe me. You don't have to believe me. Go to Google Scholar. That's a great way to research this. And you should research it. If you're suffering at all, it's crazy. I don't even get it. Why? But I'm telling you that there's a possibility that you don't have to suffer anymore. Now, I also want to point out this word infrared. We talked about red. Red is red. And then there's infrared. Now, there's no such thing as just infrared. It's either far infrared, which is what most people mean when they're talking about the word infrared, and near infrared. Far infrared is hot, and that's all it is. It's a deep penetrating heat. So you have far infrared saunas, you have far infrared, whatever. And then you have near infrared. Now, near infrared, when it first came out, when we first did it 27 years ago, it was called cold therapy, cold laser, low-level laser therapy, things like that. It was about being cold, not literally cold, but not hot. Now, the reason for that is that heat is the absolute enemy. It's the thing to avoid as much as you possibly can. So if any devices you're getting, and before you ask me, how do you know whether you have a great device or not? Well, number one, it shouldn't get hot. If it's getting hot, it's using cheap, crappy lights that are, what happens when you have a great thing, there's hundreds of copycats that are going to come out, and they're cheap junk. You want the highest medical grade devices you can get, and that's what our bed is about. The most effective, highest medical grade lights that you can find that can be very strong without hot. And heat is the enemy, because what does heat do? It's going to dilate blood vessels, bring more surface blood to the surface, and it's going to block the penetration of the light. That's why when I take a heat pack off one of my patients' back, it's bright red. Well, why is that? Because all the bloods come to the surface. And guess what? If we did that and then put light on it, we would not have nearly as good a results because the light could not penetrate that. So we don't want to have anything that generates heat. So we got red, we've got near infrared, and far infrared. We don't deal with far infrared. So our bed is integrated with red and near infrared. And near infrared is invisible to the naked eye. So some of our diodes don't seem to light up. Well, that's because you need to wear certain goggles or certain equipment to detect the near infrared energy that's coming out of there. So we talked about a bunch of stuff, but one thing that we haven't spoken about is, how does this darn thing work? So here's how it works and why it affects the entire body. There are two completely separate mechanisms. One is about fat loss, and one is about everything else. So let's just talk about fat loss for a second. This was discovered about 13 years ago, and as is true with many discoveries, it was by accident. And by accident, they found out that red light, not near infrared, not far infrared, not green, purple, blue, red light, a certain range of red light, will actually help to shrink fat cells. Now, how does this work? What they found was that the red light will actually change temporarily the permeability of the fat cell wall. That means that the fat cell wall becomes more porous for like up to 24 hours. And it allows the contents of the fat cells to leak out into the surrounding tissue. And then with our unique protocol, we move that fat away from the fat cells and eventually to the liver for use or elimination. And it works. It works. And it's as simple as that. I don't want to make it more complicated. A day later, after the treatment, that cell is back to absolutely normal. It's not like freezing the fat or boiling the fat or lasering the fat. It's not like ultrasonic cavitation or radio frequency or any of those things. They're about destroying fat cells. Fat cells have a bad rap. They have a bad name. And people think they're to be eliminated. They're essential tissue that should not be eliminated. I'm a chiropractor. I'm not going to put anything in the body that doesn't belong there or yank anything out that does belong there. And these fat cells are involved with stem cell production and hormone production and a myriad of other things, including obviously storing fat and toxins. I don't want to get rid of them. I don't want to kill them. I just want to naturally move the fat away from them. Now, what is red light? Guess what? It's an element of sunlight. What we do with both the red and the near infrared is we magnify this light energy from the sun thousands of times and then drive it into the body. So what are we taking? We're just taking elements of sunlight and driving it into the person's body. That's it. So now let's go to the healing aspect, the other aspect. And you could work your way from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet and just go hair restoration, brain. The lights can penetrate through the skull, get to the brain. And there, when you go to Google Scholar, you'll see all kinds of evidence about, PTSD and brain trauma injuries and all kinds of stuff related to the brain. So I had a lady, she wrote, if this is how normal people feel every day. Now, she was highly depressed and hated her life. After 2 weeks of being on the bed, she wrote, if this is how, now, let me rephrase that. After 2 weeks, she felt great. She wrote this months later. If this is how normal people feel every day, I can't believe I've been missing out all this time. She's not depressed anymore. So it actually works on the brain to help. And if people have, this is not the time of the year for this, but seasonal blues, that doesn't exist if you're using the red light bed. Doesn't exist. Okay, so we're working away from the brain. We're talking about the eyes. We talked about that already. Where the person's keeping their mouth open, everything in the mouth, gum disease, tongue, throat, whatever, will be helped. All the way down, thyroid, the lungs, the heart, the liver, the kidneys, whatever, all the way down the body, including every muscle. When I do all this, then someone invariably says, well, what about your elbow? And I forget to tell you that, to me, the excitement, I've been dealing with musculoskeletal problems my whole career, 47 years. So I don't always bring it up, but yes, of course, that's one of the first things we did 27 years ago with the light, was using it for musculoskeletal issues. So that's a slam dunk. We already knew that. But yes, it'll help with any joint problems, arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, you name it. Phenomenal success. So if you're sitting at home and complaining, get in the bed. In fact, you see this mug? You see what it says? You're muted.
I do. Get in the bed. I love it.
And that's my attitude. It's like, would you just get in the bed 6 visits? I'm not in practice. I'm not inviting you to my office. Just try one of these offices. Okay, so let's finish up on the mechanism for the healing aspect. What they learned was that the sun has a beautiful mechanism to stimulate the mitochondria of the body. Now, what is the mitochondria? Mitochondria, we know, is all about energy. It's the powerhouse of the body. It's the reason why you breathe oxygen and eat food. It creates this energy currency called ATP. And if you have low levels of ATP, it will lead to disease and death. ATP is what makes us function. Everything I'm doing and thinking and every mechanism in my body is stimulated or affected by the ATP. That's my energy that allows me to do these things. And if you have a low level of ATP, meaning poor mitochondrial system, it's called mitochondrial dysfunction, it will lead to disease and eventually death. And the red light bed does everything opposite that. It will actually stimulate the mitochondria to come back to life. So how does that work? So there are elements, mostly the near infrared, a little bit of the red light, will stimulate an enzyme in the mitochondria. And that enzyme is called cytochrome C oxidase. The cytochrome C oxidase is a chromophore. Well, what does that mean? It's stimulated by sunlight. Not every cell in your body is stimulated by sunlight. Not every tissue in your body is stimulated by sunlight. But you know the sun is so critical that if you're not getting sunlight, then it will lead to disease and death. So sunlight is critical. Look outside. Look at the trees. If we didn't have sunlight, we couldn't exist. And the same element that the trees and plants have, we have. They have mitochondria. They have a version of cytochrome C oxidase. So cytochrome C oxidase, being an enzyme, is stimulated by this certain elements of red light and near infrared that we're using in the bed to stimulate the cytochrome C oxidase, to stimulate the mitochondria to come back to life. And the mitochondria is in every cell of your body. Again, starting from the top of your head all the way down and in between, everything has the mitochondria in every cell. And what I didn't mention is how prevalent the mitochondria is. When I went to school, we learned that there was one mitochondria in every cell of the body, and that's not true. Some cells, like the heart, which has the highest demand for energy, has over 5,000 mitochondria in every cell. And what they discovered not that long ago was that the mitochondria makes up 10% of your body weight. I want that to sink in. 10% of your whole body weight is made up of the mitochondria. So you think the mitochondria is important? Yes. And you think keeping the mitochondria as healthy as possible is important? Yes. And so someone will say, well, why don't I just sit out in the sun? We're talking about taking sunlight, magnifying it thousands and thousands of times to get the kind of results that I'm talking about, and driving that into the person's body and getting the depth of penetration that's unbelievable. We have doubters out there, and they'll go, well, it's only skin deep. No, it's not. And then we'll have doubters out there. I had one guy who goes, oh, it's a placebo effect. It's in their brain. Okay, so you're talking about a guy that was having a heart attack once, if not twice a week, and it was all in his head that he now doesn't have that? Come on, man. I mean, so the doubters out there, they don't understand. Just get in the bed 6 times and you'll see a difference. It's rare not to see a difference. So that's the mechanism. One side, we're talking about fat loss. The other side, we're talking about everything else. All the way from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet. And so I'm as surprised as other people. Do you think I thought that this guy was going to stop having heart attacks after one visit? No way. I did not think that. I hoped, but I really didn't think it was going to be that effective that quickly. And it isn't always that way in one visit. We have Jerisha who had a stroke. And when you watch her video, after one visit, she noticed huge difference. After 8 visits, she was better than before she ever had the stroke. So I want to talk to you about the fact that there's a difference between health span and lifespan. This is not about living longer. This is about living better. It's about aging gracefully. And if you're like me, you got to know why some people don't take care of themselves. And you know what that is? It's because they're not scared enough. They're not afraid. They don't understand what it's going to be like when they're 70, 80 years old and they're stuck in a wheelchair. And their 80-year-old self right now, 75-year-old self is going, they're screaming at the 30-year-old self going, what are you doing? Could you not please just take care of yourself? Does that mean you never can have fun again? Never have a beer? No, it's just be smart. Take care of yourself. I'm not the most disciplined. I'm pretty disciplined, but not the most disciplined. But I'm scared as heck because I would have patients come to my office and I would say to myself, I wouldn't say it out loud, but I would say to myself, please God, don't let me wind up like that. Because I didn't want to wind up because they didn't take care of themselves. And imagine they're chiropractic patients. So chiropractic patients have already screened themselves. They were usually healthier minded than the non-chiropractic patients. And even so, I had patients that didn't take good enough care of themselves. So it's a scary thing. So starting off in the beginning, you said you had some questions to me and you are muted, but what you got?
No, now I'm thinking about so many different things. My brain is just like trying to process everything you had just said because it was very exciting because I want to live longer. My goal is to live 100 years old, do public speaking yet, and die making love to my husband. Sorry if that's a little TMI, but like that's my life goal is I still want to be able to have that at 100 because you're absolutely right. What scares me is being average. Average, broke, poor, that scares me more than anything else in this world does. Because you are absolutely right. Everything that you were talking was spot on, that it costs a lot of money, way more, to be in not just like in the poverty, but it costs a lot of money to be sick. People don't realize how much money it costs, and they look at things, like the Trifecta bed, and they're going to see the cost, and they're going to go, well, it's like the sticker shock. But if you think about it, if something could potentially have you live longer and healthier, like why would you not want that? Because it's just amazing. So I just love everything that you've just said. So I'm trying to process it because that was a lot. That was amazing though, because you're able to penetrate the sun. And then it's like what you said about the sun is like, we're always told don't get a lot of sun because you get sunburned. So at the same time, I'm wondering, like, what are the contradictions for not using this, the contraindications?
So we already talked about, the side effects and that there are none. There's only one side effect, and it's a legal side effect, and that's pregnant women. But we're going to ask people who are pregnant not to get in the bed. Not that it would hurt the mother or the fetus, but because if that baby comes out anything other than perfect, they're going to want to blame somebody, and you just don't want to be in that neighborhood. So no matter what you do, you want to stay away from pregnant women primarily. Now, massage therapists might still massage a pregnant woman because it's non-invasive but they don't know enough about red light therapy yet, and they still might get blamed for that. So it's the only side effect. Now, you asked me a contraindication, and that was the question I wanted you to hold on to until right now, as a matter of fact. Contraindication means who can or cannot use the bed. And technically, now listen to the whole sentence, don't grab what I'm saying from just a little section, but technically there's really no contraindication, meaning that you can get in the bed with electronics, with pacemaker, defibrillator, with the back, some people will get back stimulators to stimulate it's like a TENS unit in their back, implanted in their body. Also metal implants or knee replacement, shoulder replacement, none of those are contraindicated. None. The only contraindication, again, is pregnancy. That's it. So other than that, you can get in the bed and you just keep your eyes closed and your mouth open. That's it. and you have little skin. You want to have it. It's a skin based system. So you're going to be less clothing, the better. Let's put it that way.
So then, why have the mouth open?
To get into the mouth.
Because like the teeth would block it, or
it would block it. If I had a way of opening your skull, I would open the skull, but we don't. It can get through the skull to the brain, but it would be better if so it can get through the teeth. But if it's easy enough to open up your mouth, just open up your mouth.
Well, no, that's what I was wondering, because I'm like I wasn't sure on that. Because I think this is amazing, and you are right. A lot of people like to blame someone else for their problems in general. That's what you said about the pregnant woman. I'm like, that explains why a lot of things are not allowed during that time then too, at the same time.
Well, some of the things are dangerous to pregnant women.
Yeah, they are.
Red light there's never been a recorded side effect with red light therapy.
Well, no, and I appreciate you mentioning that too, because I just think that's amazing. And then, like you said about for the ones that are junk out there, because there is a lot of junk out there, and you said that they get hot and they're the red, and then like yours does not get hot at all. This just has that cool effect.
It not only doesn't get hot, but we can accommodate and customize the treatment for the person's condition as well as their size. So someone who's 80 pounds should not be getting the same dose that someone who's 400 pounds.
No, that'd be
400 pounder has a lot more flesh, can absorb a lot of this light without generating any heat at all. The 80 pounder who has no flesh at all, we would lower the power because we don't want to generate heat. So here are some of the elements, what you're looking for. First of all, you want high-powered lights that are medical grade that don't get hot, number one. Number two, you want the top canopy to come right onto the person's body. And we've structured our bed in such a way with unique hydraulics that allows the top canopy to stop wherever you put it. Very easy to push it up, pull it down, and you want it right onto your body, because as you come away from the body, you lose power exponentially. You want to be as close to the body as possible. The third thing is the ability to customize the treatment for the size of the person and the condition. And the fourth thing is the ability to pulse the wave. Now, we didn't always have that capability, but over the last few years, we're able to pulse the wave, which allows us to do two things. One, by pulsing the wave, you dissipate any potential heat at all, so you can even have more power with less heat, number one. But more importantly, if you've ever heard of high, frequency healing or Rife frequencies, things like that, there are different types of pulsations that will affect different tissues of your body. So different frequencies, when my patients would notice frequencies with vibratory frequencies, sound frequencies, and with the bed, there's a light frequency. And we include all those things. We include 32 things with the purchase of the bed. And that includes the training and includes all the coaching. We actually have a coach that will coach you through. Most of our people are going to see, I can't promise this, but it seems to be on average, the lowest anyone's going to see from an investment on this from a business point of view is 10 times return on investment. It's easy. So we teach you how to not only create the successful experience, we also include the marketing, we include the print material, the posters, and all that stuff. But we also include, I'm just about finished with my book, which is the ultimate guide to building and succeeding in red light therapy or something like that. And because this is what I do. I've been very successful. I've had 12 practices. I'm not in practice now, but I know how to build a practice. I know how to maintain that practice. And I know how to build a referral practice pretty easily. Well, relatively easily.
No, that's amazing. Sounds like I need more one-on-one with you. I'm just saying, because it's amazing. I'm just like, it's amazing. And then especially like from 1972, like you think about the era, you think about how much more medication is pushed, surgery is pushed. And like you said in the very beginning, it's money making. That's all it is. How much money can I suck out of somebody? Is the way I take it.
Yeah.
Well, and it's like
the medical profession is about illness. And I don't blame them. I'm not saying nobody should make any money. I'm just saying that what I like about this RFK Jr. is that he said his approach was going to be more directed towards helping people rather than trying to make everybody rich. And that's what the goal is. And that's why he's actually, he's entertaining the possibility of coming on board, or us coming on board with him, with red light therapy, because he recognizes. And I want to mention something else. What I didn't bring up was athletes. So if you're an athlete and you've been racing a certain speed and you always come in second, let's say, or not first, if you get in the bed before your activity, you will perform better. Not subtly, I mean grossly, amazingly better. And then if you get in the bed after your activity, you will recover from that much better. So this is why when we were dealing with the Olympic training group for track and field, they loved our bed. They would get in it in the morning and they would do this amazing routine that normally the next day they could barely get out of bed, so exhausted from the day before. But if they use the bed before they start and after they're finished to recover, they wake up the next morning, as they would put it, fresh as a daisy, ready to go. And so their performance is better, their speed is better, they're jumping higher, their stamina is better. I had a guy call me up and say, I could swim twice the distance that I used to swim. And it's strictly just from red light therapy. And again, it has to be a full body coverage from head to toe, left and right, front and back, inside and out.
No, I love this.
As you can tell, I love this stuff. I am passionate as heck. But I think I've answered most of your questions now, right?
Oh, yeah, you have. Most definitely. And I'm sure for our audience, too. So what's the best way for the audience to get in contact with you?
They're going to go to trifectalight.com, go to the Contact Us page, and on the left side, if they want to try and find a location closer to them, on the right side to buy a bed, and on the bottom is just general communication. And they can just do it that way.
Are there any social media channels that they can follow you on?
Yes, I'm going to send you, it's called Linktree, and it has every one of our social media on there. So it's got the LinkedIn, the Facebook, the Instagram, blah, 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 the whole thing.
Awesome. Well, I just want to I'm so thankful, Dr. Carl, that you were on the show today. And I want to remind my audience as well to subscribe and share Healing for the Soul podcast with everyone you know. And I encourage you to follow me, Robin Stoltman, on social media, and my guest, Dr. Carl Rothschild, on as well on his socials, which will attach that to the bottom of the show. And thank you so much for your time and your energy on today's episode of Healing for the Soul podcast. Thank you so much, Dr. Carl, for being here. I really appreciate it.
My absolute pleasure.
Quack, quack.